So thank you everyone for joining this webinar with Booking.com and Hostfully. Excited to have you on. Let's do some quick introductions first. So hello, Kathryn and Eric. I'll go first, actually. I'm David Jacoby. I'm president and co-founder of Hostfully, and I am a host myself, and I love Booking.com. And this is our first webinar. No, our second webinar with Booking.com. We did one last week as well, so we've been on a roll, and Kathryn has really stepped up and providing awesome, great education to everyone, so thank you. Kathryn, could you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, I'd love to, and thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here on our second but first official talking about this topic, which is more general on trends that Booking.com is seeing within the vacation rental segment in industry. So my name is Kathryn Cervantes. I've been with Booking about 6 years, and I've been working with Hostfully, I think, the last 2. So we've been working on a lot of great initiatives, and excited to share a bit more of that today.
Great.
Awesome, thanks, Kat. And I'm Eric. I lead our operations here at Hostfully. I've been here about 2.5 years. I'm in Dallas, Texas, and I'll be monitoring chat and questions today.
Thank you, Eric. Kathryn does have a lot to cover, but we do want this to be interactive as well. So you guys should see the chat button, and we would encourage you to ask questions, and we will get around to as many questions as possible. If it makes sense for us to chime in while Kat is speaking with some of those questions, we will. Otherwise, we will save them until the end as well. And please focus on more general Booking.com or vacation rental questions. If there's anything that's like really unique and specific to your account, this is probably not the place to do that. So send us an email offline, hello@hostfully.com, and we can help you out with any specific individual issues you might have. And I know everyone's excited to hear about Booking.com, but humor me for a couple minutes while we talk about Hostfully, for those that may not be aware of Hostfully and what we do. We are software to help property managers run their business. So we actually have 2 platforms. We have a property management platform, which is really a full-scale software to help you run your business from tip to tail. We help you get bookings on Booking.com and other OTAs. We can help you with direct bookings and processing payments, automated messages to the guests, awesome owners portal, managing cleanings, integrations with all sorts of companies, dynamic pricing companies, background check companies, cleaning companies, reports, analytics, and a whole lot more. So please check us out on hostfully.com for more info about that. And then we also have a standalone digital guidebook platform. Whether you are using our property management software or not, you can be using our digital guidebooks. If you have 1 property, if you have 1,000 properties, you can be using our digital guidebooks. And this really enhances the guest experience. It makes you look really professional. It's got all the information that your guests need for their trip: directions, check-in details, house manual information, recommendations. You get to curate it, you get to customize it, you get to brand it, and it really ups your game on the guest communication side. 1 guidebook is free, so you got nothing to lose. Please check us out, kick the tires a little bit, and we'd love to hear what you think about that. But don't just trust me. Let's hear from what others have to say about us. Our digital guidebooks, Software Advice, they're kind of the sister company to Gartner and their famous Magic Quadrant. They have us as the leader for vacation rental software for the digital guidebooks. And on the property management platform side of things, we are back-to-back winners of the prestigious Keystone Awards for Best Vacation Rental Software. And also, forget what we say about the channels. What do the channels say about us? Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo have all put us in the elite category of preferred or premier partner status. So that's them saying that our integrations are the best in the industry. And in addition to our software, we love providing resources to the vacation rental community. Of course, we have lots of webinars. We have past webinars that you can check out on our website. We do industry reports and white papers. Our most recent big one is at hostfully.com/2021 report. And you can also go to our website and click on the reports section to see all of our reports and white papers and case studies. All right, but enough about Hostfully. Let's talk about Booking.com. So Kathryn, what does Booking.com think of Hostfully?
Perfect segue. And yeah, I mean, you said it, you already nailed it, saying that you are in our top tier of connectivity partnership, meaning your premier, which is really proud of the Hostfully has achieved that. Going on the second year running, we're about to go into the new term of this, and we're right there. But Hostfully's really done so much work. I'm so proud of what we've done together in this partnership and the updates that have been made from development on, making sure there's a seamless, just even from the onboarding of new properties. So getting listings, getting properties live on Booking.com on all channels, and then considering them open bookable with fresh content, real-time photos, facilities, being able to do content score, all those details, let alone like the rates and kind of the core piece of it is all there within the connection. So yeah, we're really excited about the partnership, and that's our shameless plug too, to say that if you're not already listing on Booking.com through Hostfully, that it's really easy to do so, and definitely recommend that, and really proud of working together with you guys. Cool. And then a bit more just about Booking.com, and I mean, hopefully you've heard of us in the industry here, but specifically, I think we're lesser known still, especially in the US, when it comes to vacation rentals. And I'd say some benefits of us in this marketplace are really just the overall guest experience. So we translate into multiple languages, over 43 now. That means that guests who are booking either domestically or internationally, if they're speaking different languages, they can view that all of your content translated by Booking.com's translation team, which is really great to help speak their language and meet guests where they are. There's also a lot of access to new types of guests. So we do find that guests who are initially might be looking for hotels or more traditional stays end up booking alternative rentals, and vice versa. So there's that fluidity between having all the properties in that one landing page. And then again, optimizing the customer journey. There's a lot of new features and ongoing updates that are being made when it comes to making sure the house rules are set, making the host profile is available, customizing the content where it can be in a way that's not translated, just really making sure to show everything from our partners' brands and your brands up on the Booking.com website is our goal. Cool. So with that kind of introduction and overview of both of our companies, what I'll be going through today is a bit of what we're seeing as far as on the horizon, some hopeful outlook amongst the uncertainty, then what's new at Booking.com. We'll talk a little bit more about the US and a regional outlook, regional snapshot, and then go into some live questions and questions. So yeah, please keep those coming and answer the polls as David mentioned at the top. Okay, so I think we all know that COVID's not quite in the rearview mirror, and there's a lot of still uncertainty in the global economic world out there. But Booking has been doing a lot of research, interviews with guests and customers all over the world, like globally, as well as using internal tooling to just really have an understanding as to what's on travelers' minds, what's the consumer confidence. We still do find that they're starting to see some light at the end of the tunnel, and they're still or embracing the uncertainty at this point too, and really looking for ways to travel amongst the current state of the world. So just to go through some recent headlines, just this week I saw there was this one about the Europe occupancy remaining stable, even though there's the invasion of Ukraine and what's going on there. It's interesting if you look at the scope of that too, because that means that parts of the like Western Europe and Southern Europe are staying strong with their local regional travel. I know that I think Ireland had a boost from some of those festivities over St. Patrick's Day and some sports holidays. And then there is a strange statistic as well, where even with the refugees, there's some increase or stability amongst the hotels and rentals volume there. So, but overall, I think it's the takeaway is that Europe is remaining fairly stable. And then in the US, we've been seeing a lot of stability too, and still, from Booking.com side at least, continued growth and continued ideally like intent to travel as well as travel there. So that's positive. As far as wanting to do some bucket list items, travelers are wanting to go far and spend big. It's a new release from American Express. So guests are really looking to kind of do things that they missed out on. I'm going to go into some numbers on just how much everyone's been missing travel more than realized it was important to us. But that's been really great to see, and that I think the U.S. can expect to see some of that international travel too, as soon as as long as the countries are open to do so, the guests are wanting to come and take advantage of that. There is a lot of optimism. Of course, it's not all positive, right? We know that there's very real increases in gas prices and what's happening with oil and the flights as well. So there is definitely that is a factor. Again, so that's something that I think everybody's watching for is what does that mean for driving distance travel, for flight costs. And that's definitely something that's, I think, weighing on all travelers' minds. And something that's going to affect, something that we'll need to keep watching out for is short-term and long-term over summer and throughout the rest of the year it takes place. So definitely that's still a factor. Again, I'll talk about it throughout this presentation. We haven't seen really a drop-off due to that yet, but that's something that we'll continue to watch for as well. So to get into some of the results from the survey, which I think is great to highlight. So we've seen that this is when the Booking put out across 28 countries and territories, almost 30,000 adults surveyed. So really interesting. I think 71% of global travelers would rather be on a vacation this year than finding true love. So I think if that's something that people are so willing to travel, it's so important to all of us that that's like a top of mind, possibly even than finding true love. And hopefully these travelers can find both if they haven't already. But that's I think speaks volumes to just how important that is and how top of mind travel has become. And 66 would prioritize traveling, 66% would prioritize traveling over success at work. So again, hopefully we can all do both, or work on the road as business travel and remote work and hybrid work from lovely vacation rentals is out there, and a chance to do both. But again, this really speaks to the way that guests are, for travelers are, how important it is to them. 64% are saying travel is more important to them than it was now before the pandemic. Yeah, we're seeing that, across the board from bookings research, from industry news, just that having something to plan, to look forward to get out and experience the world, and also the community aspect of it is more important than ever. And that connection is very much something that I think we're all craving. And I know that personally, I think that's something that we crave. I crave, I think everybody I talk to, and the reports show that as well. And then lastly, 66% said that not being able to travel extensively over the last 2 years has made them yearn for it even more than anything too. So yeah, same notes. Overall takeaways here is just that want and the desire to travel is there, and it's stronger than ever.
Thanks, Kat. Hey, I just want to jump in. Jerry mentioned that he's not seeing the slides. I just wanted to check out there. Can everyone see the slides? If you can you just write in the question tab? Let us know yes or no. Yes. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah. I would maybe suggest refreshing. I know that happened to me once on my last webinar. Okay. So am I okay then? Okay, I'll continue on.
Yes, you're good, Kat. Keep going. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, so there are slides. So this next one, a couple more points about just the overall joint effort towards a common goal. Travelers have become more aware of the overall community, as well as supporting the industry itself. So I think, again, like, for example, labor shortages is something everybody's aware of and being very mindful of, and booking and staying and supporting those communities. 95% of travelers also think the industry needs support to get back on its feet. So really across the board, almost entirely, everybody surveyed is very much aware of just the hardships that the hospitality industry and the vacation rentals, hotel rentals that everybody has gone through, and just staying in business. And there's very much a desire to support that effort back and really use their dollars to go towards that and keep those industries afloat. 66% also believe that government financial stimulus could be needed and could be useful to help travel's recovery. So supportive of any efforts that had already taken place and more that are to come. And then 74% accommodations believe that their local government should do more. So again, I think this is very much specific to the region. This is a global survey, so I know it's a really different, varies across the board as far as what that looks like, but there's a lot of support for government spending and making sure those industries stay alive. And we all stay in business, everybody stays in business and have places for these great places for the guests to visit. It's super important, I think, across the board. Okay, so then I'll go into what Booking.com has been up to. I want to share some just recent initiatives and things that are going to be things that we're doing to help capture all these guests who are looking to travel. So before I do that, I just want to share a message from the Booking.com, our Chief Marketing Officer, who has shared that, continuing to look for the future with hope and signs of the pent-up demand are promising indicators of how the industry is poised for growth. So we are seeing a lot of that positivity ahead and cautious optimism, I'll say, again, is still among the uncertainty that continues on. So before I go into what Booking.com has been up to, I'd love to hear a bit of Hostfully's take as to what you think about these kind of our snapshot of the customer sentiment so far.
So far so good. We're seeing similar, signs of pent-up demand. Indeed, we're seeing lots more bookings across all channels and a lot more on Booking.com as well. So it's exciting to get to be seeing our relationship grow and a lot more customers listing on Booking.com and a lot more reservations coming in from there. We do have a few questions. Maybe we'll sprinkle one in now. And for those who came in late, if there's questions that you ask, please, or questions that you have, please feel free to ask them, and we'll do our best to get around to them. But one question that we have is, why is Booking.com different from Vrbo and Airbnb? So a kind of high level, if there's some, you can address that, some of the high level differentiators.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. It's a great question, one that we're always looking to stand out ourselves and be a great site and good partner to our community. I think one that I mentioned earlier, and that I believe is one of our biggest benefits, is the single website. So having the mixture of all types of accommodations on Booking.com itself for guests to discover maybe a vacation rental when they would have just been looking, for, let's say, a city or for any town that they're traveling to. Again, that's that crossover that we're seeing of trying new experiences. So I think having that mix of supply is really useful and beneficial into funneling guests towards different types of accommodations. So that's a big one there. Again, our global reach is also very, very strong. So Booking's been very strong in Europe since we started in 1996, and then growing in the U.S. quite a bit. But having that international reach is also a really big strength that's gone into, again, why we're translated into so many languages. So that diversity amongst our platform as well as our traveler we've seen be strong, and will continue to help as international travel continues to recover and rebound. The last one I'll say is I believe that Booking.com really believes in empowering our partners and really connecting you with the guests. So that's the ultimate goal, is we want to get out of the way and make it as easy for guests to book, as easy for properties to list on our website, and then easy to communicate between the two. So that's something that we've taken a lot of steps in, making that communication as fluid as possible and being there to support whenever any side needs it, and getting out of the way the rest of the time.
Awesome, that's great. Thank you. To echo and emphasize what you said, that first comment, I do hear anecdotally from our customers that they'll get reservations from Booking.com where the guest was originally looking for a hotel, and then they see that vacation rental appear in the search and it wasn't on their radar, but whether it was the price or whether it's something special about that having a kitchen, it got them more interested in vacation rentals, and it's their first time staying in a vacation rental, and it wasn't even on their radar when they first started looking at the trip.
Yeah, that's great. And we do find that once those guests start to try different types of accommodations, they become fans of it, so they'll go back and forth, or may go back to the hotel, but they usually, once they'll try something new, it increases that comfort level, and then we'll continue to rebook with those types of properties as well.
Great. And also, I'll just reiterate too that sometimes I think there's a healthy tension between OTAs and the property manager as to who's guest, who owns that guest. And it's great to hear you say that you guys really focus on facilitating the relationship and the connection between the actual host or property manager and the guest.
Yeah, absolutely. We really believe it's a mutual guest, is the simplest I can put it.
Awesome.
Great.
All right.
Okay. So for a bit more of what Booking has been working on, I'm going to go through 3 segments. So a little bit on what we're sharing as far as insights and demand data, then an overview of product development, spotlighting a recent extension of long stays. So we're going to spotlight long stays that Booking.com has recently rolled out globally, and then a bit of what we're doing to generate demand and capture all this pent-up desire to travel from the consumers out there. So I just went through at the beginning a little bit of highlights from some of our recent surveys. We've also released our travel predictions for 2022, and this is publicly available to read through. Again, I'll go through a couple of the highlights of it here, but really we're ultimately trying to share any kind of insights that Booking.com can with the industry, and hoping to do that, some of that today, and continue to pass that on to our partners. We really believe their strength in sharing that and showing these outlooks within the regions. We source from diverse audience here to forecast where travel's headed. They're done from research all over thousands of travelers in 31 countries and territories, combined in-house data and expertise to show the really global market. The research is exploring everything from preferred travel companies, trip aspirations, technology preferences, practical considerations such as facilities available and how to really book and travel there. So we're going to share some of the key traveler themes and priorities that came out through this report, and how you can leverage them for the years ahead. So the 7 predictions really reveal how people are reigniting that travel spark in the upcoming year, whether it's just an essential part of self-care or the thrill of saying yes to traveling. It's really about seizing the opportunity and seizing the day. Every day varies. I think we can plan a little bit farther and ahead now than, let's say, even in 2021, but it's still changing pretty quickly as life returns to quote unquote normal. So now, I just wanted to highlight a couple of these trends that I think are relevant for us here in this topic. Resetting the out of home office is a big one. We see quite a mix, and those who want to go back to the office and those who never want to go back to the office and will continue working a healthy work-life balance from their homes or from rental homes. So really being able to combine that business travel and personal travel, as well as working from all over the world. I know I personally did this a little bit early days of the pandemic. I think David, we've all done a little bit of moving around and working from different locations. So I think that's a great opportunity to put the supply in front of these guests, where they can then bring their laptops, get set up, and really do that home office and reinventing what business travel looks like. And then the last one too is embracing the unpredictable. Yeah, again, that's really what ultimately is remaining a common theme, and that's probably with us for the long term here. The big takeaway from this section, embracing unpredictable, we found a big uptick in guests who are just looking for flexibility. So travelers are still looking for that reassurance that they won't lose money, or they're having clear, it's either flexible policies or the ability to cancel within a certain time frame. Those, we understand that there, of course, has to be some protection, and it can't all be fully flexible, but making sure that that's clear what that policy is, and being able to work with them there and having that available. So I said that 42% want the assurance that they won't lose money, and 33% want the ability to cancel potentially free of charge. They list those ability to cancel, flexibility as the top 3 important priorities as they're booking travel for the year ahead. So I think flexibility, options, ease of travel are all really big ones here. And then as far as product development, so long stays might not be really new to this audience. And when I mean that, it is new to Booking.com, but we've saw a large uptick as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, just resulting in demand for longer stays. That's been increasing steadily on Booking.com. And when I say long stays, previously Booking.com had a cap of, there's a max of 30 nights that could be booked at one time. But even breaking that down, we've seen millions of guests looking for stays longer than 1 week. So that's kind of our initial short, long term of a week versus a month. But that's been a big uptick in weekly and monthly searches. And then again, business travelers are changing. Families are traveling together during weekdays for longer amounts of time. Domestic audiences are looking for longer trips. Overall, there's been a rise in long-term demand, and partners are looking for opportunities to capture those new markets. So with that, we've been updating how we've been displaying weekly and monthly rates by offering those to all partners. So there's a benefit there by capturing that increased demand by setting up these compelling weekly and monthly rates. And it also helps with up-to-date highlighting facilities the guests are have available, such as strong Wi-Fi and anything else that's unique that would make them comfortable during these longer stays. So with that, there's a really exciting change this is something that had been talked about internally for quite some time since I had been around at Booking. It had been, I think, up for consideration and really just became a very serious effort as a result of the pandemic. And this was one of the, what I would say is a positive outcome from a, maybe not a less positive situation, but because of this changes in long-term demand, there was a lot of internal analysis and testing that started last year in 2021. And in Q4 started testing in certain markets within the UK and within the United States as well to be able to have more than 30 nights available. So up to 45 nights were available in Q4, and that actually just rolled out as of February to all markets. So that's now available. Guests can book, if the properties allow, up to 45 nights globally, except for Japan. Japan's the only one that has they're working through some legal qualifications there as to how to get that live, but that's the last of all the countries. Otherwise, the rest have now rolled in. I think Italy, France. There were a couple others that just joined more recently, but we've been able to work through that with the partners and the local requirements as well. That is to say that it is still up to the property. So if, again, those restrictions might vary depending on the local legalities. If properties do not want to offer more than 30 nights, that's totally still fine. We just want to make sure that's available for those who are looking to have monthly or longer stays. And then coming soon, just this month, actually, we're currently testing up to 90 days in several locations, and that's the plan within the next couple months to scale that globally as well. And again, total control here for partners in the properties to set that restrictions as to how long you're able to take guests, able and or willing to take guests. But we want to make sure that if you're sending the availability, if you're Hostfully, you're sending that availability on, that we're able to pass those guests back who are looking to book it. So it's been a really exciting update. Again, because it's pretty new, we haven't seen I don't have a ton of results to show just yet, but I can say that global averages from partners who have been listing monthly rate plans have had an uptick as an 18% longer length of stay, 17% higher book bookings, so increase in the number of reservations coming in, and 38% higher booked room nights, which makes sense, right? Because you're getting more room nights with these long stays, so that factors into the overall growth. And then I will say one note, there's still a bit of testing going on. So the front end users might not all see the same thing if you're searching for long stays in different markets. But I know there are plans along with the 90-day scale to also highlight and have dedicated landing pages or segments, or really looking to capture on the front end what this looks like to guests who are searching for these longer stays and making it a compelling location and very user-friendly to get through and book the long stays. So yeah, again, I think this is not super new to the vacation industry, and I know but it's really exciting for us at Booking.com to have this change made, and I'm looking forward to seeing the results from it.
Awesome, congrats on that. That's great.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, it's nice. It seems like Booking.com is continuing to move to support vacation rentals, so that's awesome. Yeah,
we are trying. That's the goal. I mean, we're hoping to do more and more, and growing every day and every year. So I'm glad that's compelling to some of our partners. And then as far as what else Booking.com is doing, so yeah, again, like we know that the travelers, there's the interest there. So what can we do to increase that demand and pass that on to our valued partners, who are the property managers and the ones that are really hosting these guests? You might have seen there was a big Super Bowl ad that Booking.com launched, also for the first time ever. That's something that's was a big topic of discussion internally if it would ever happen, and for this to happen this year was huge. We brought back the Booking.yeah campaign, which was also very popular, and even though it hadn't been around for a couple of years, still said by, I think most people will still remember. It's a very memorable campaign and a pretty fun one, and we still say it sometimes internally as well, just for fun. So glad that's back. We have Idris Elba as a spokesperson for us. It's amazing. We think things are super fun, but that's something that Booking's doing to really try to increase awareness, encourage guests to take that jump from looking to booking, and then funneling that again all to our customers. So there'll also be continued campaigns through May and June. Like, so over the summer, or kind of going into summer months, we'll do another round of this kind of carrying on from that campaign. We're also looking to doing improved landing page experiences in order to kind of funnel, and this is specifically for the vacation rental and for the home. We use home and vacation rental interchangeably, so if I say that, I'm referring to still the alternative accommodation property types. So that's something that another way that Booking is working to really put focus on the home segment, the vacation rental segment, and convert bookers into those types of properties. So improved landing page experiences, marketing campaigns to unlock new growth. And then there's also something we've been working on with external reviews, with showing external reviews. So we know that properties will increase conversion if they have reviews. So if you're new to Booking.com and don't have reviews just yet, that might have formerly been a bit of a blocker. And I know there was a pilot that took place late last year, and now we're looking into showing it was really successful. And we saw that increase in conversion for more than 10% if their external review score was shown. So we're looking into a way to scale that and use that technology within the maps during the booking process to help increase conversion. So more to come on that, but that's another one that's pretty exciting. I know we do see that reviews carry quite a bit of weight. And then I also know I personally love a good review score. I think that's something that makes sense. We trust our peers and trust the numbers there. And so that's one that I'm excited about as well. And then finally, I mentioned the long stays. So just continuing to invest in segments such as long stays, as well as flexible and family travel. We're really looking to increase how we're showing different types of combinations of adults and children, and making sure that families are accounted for as that segment continues to grow, and just really having it be clear for what to expect when traveling there. Okay, that's my snapshot on what Booking's been up to. And then I can go into a bit more. I'm going to go into a bit more of the regional insights on the United States. But also quick pause in case there's any questions to address before then. All good?
All good. It looks like 75% are in the US who filled out the poll. Someone's in Canada, someone in Europe, and another in other, prefer not to say. So we've got a broad mix here today, but most are in the US.
Okay, great. Well, then that will be relevant for what I talk about in this next couple sections, and for Canada as well. We're close, so hopefully some of these trends scale to our neighbors. But thanks for joining, and so the idea here is, now that we've seen a bit of the bigger picture of the overall travel market is shaping up, I wanted to talk about a bit of what the regional deep dive and going into some of the numbers that we're seeing again here, as well as regional initiatives. So this goes into our part of our commitment to everything that we're doing to help capture upcoming demand. We continue to focus on relevant data, and then sharing the data with you and our partners, and making sure that we're doing everything we can to help optimizing your listings and ultimately fueling recovery there. This type of information is also, I'll just get a quick plug, available in the performance tab in the extranet. And then hopefully down the line, we'll also have it available to maybe plug in through Hostfully. So, we're looking to keep everything you can do through Hostfully. That's our ideal as well. But just to say for now that some of this information is available to you locally as well. So with this one specifically, I wanted to call out some trends from the Booking.com home segment in the US. And these are the most common metrics, let's say, that we look at. So book window, the average daily rate, as well as length of stay. And this is all based on what's been taking place year to date. So I will say that this is what we've been seeing just in the last few months. And then I'll kind of speak to some comparisons versus last year. Book window is a really interesting segment to look at. And actually, we were chatting about this just before starting the webinar. We've noticed a meaningful change in Booking's customers. It's varied a little bit since the start of the pandemic. Mainly, guests are really choosing to stay and book either very close to, so we've had seen an uptick in last-minute reservations, as well as several months out. So it's an interesting mix where there's more short-term and more long-term, and it's really that mid-range that's decreased. While it may look like that average, kind of balances that out, but really we see still more short-term and long-term. But I will say the vacation rental segment is around 65 days, which is much longer than the non-home segment. So then our core hotel partners and chains, this is about nearly double what those properties average. So much longer than non-home accommodations. That's up 17% year over year. So again, that's, I think, could be attributed to the uptick in consumer confidence that they're able to book and plan further ahead than they felt comfortable doing even in 2021.
Hey, Kat.
Yeah.
Just wanted to clarify, are these new booking trends? So the booking date might have been recently, but the check-in date hasn't started. Is this looking forward, or are these completed stays?
Well, this is based on complete stays, but it's based on when those stays had booked.
Got it. Okay.
Yes. So
Thank you.
based on complete stays from when they had booked. So yes, so it could be even increased from there. Yeah, so hope that's clear. And then again, this is up from the previous years. In 2020 and 2021, it was closer to 50 days. So now getting up to 65, and then it'll be interesting to see how that evolves, if that decreases getting into summer months or continues to stay stable a bit around that just over 2 months period. I did also notice, I did look to a bit ahead into summer bookings. So this is forward looking now already for June and September. Those bookings are up, I think, 50% year over year, with the most growth in August, and the most growth in August as far as planning ahead, and the highest volumes are in June and July. So that's pretty, I'd say, in line with typical summer travel, with June and July being the stronger months. But as far as booking windows for the future, we are seeing, again, a big increase in summer and confidence in planning trips ahead this year. Okay, and then as far as the average daily rate, so this is once again the highest. The home segment has the highest average daily rate when comparing to core hotels or hotel chains, with a year-to-date state average of 202. This is U.S. dollars, up 19% year over year, and 37% higher than your competitor hotels in the same regions. Home ADR was also actually pretty stable throughout the pandemic. So in 2020, 2021, it was around 170 US dollars for those years on average. I think we saw an initial, very initial maybe dip, and then it really leveled off and even grew during some parts of the year, as that was types of properties guests felt more comfortable in traveling to. So really pretty stable. That's been great to see. It's been pretty stable through Booking.com. And the last metric, as far as billing to stay goes, once again, the highest compared to hotels, which makes sense as well, based on the type of units. And so year to date, it's about 3.11 nights. That's up 9% year over year, and again, 58% higher than core hotels. Also remained pretty stable through COVID, 2020 and 2021. Except it has ticked up to over 3 nights. In 2020 and 2021, it was just under 3 at 2.8 nights on average. So I think the takeaway here is that guests are looking further in advance, they're staying longer, and they're willing to pay more for these types of properties when comparing to the other types of units on Booking.com. So I think I hope this shows some of the strength in the guests who are looking and staying in the US and these types of units. There's definitely that willingness. We're seeing that going in through into the conversion and actually into the bookings themselves, which is really great to see.
That is there on one area that is still maybe recovering a little slower than others. We've had a couple questions about business travel. You touched on it a little bit earlier, but do you know if like the length of stay is different for business travel, and also just how business travel is recovering in general?
Yeah, it's interesting. Booking travel, we see it recovering, but in the less common ways. So we see those business travelers is really identified by the longer stays and by certain days of week. So that's one way that Booking will look at if guests are, as in trying to identify if they're traveling for business based on those certain metrics. There's also an option that guests can fill out. It is optional. They can say if it's leisure or business at checkout, as well as some companies actually have business accounts with Booking.com to travel there. So we have seen that coming back a little bit slower in like the traditional methods, but a bit more throughout these just overall longer stays. So something we're definitely watching, but I think for now it's been like a slower but steadier incline for us. Cool. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So with that, I'll go into one of my favorite topics, which is filters. I personally, again, love using filters. I think we see quite a bit of our guests do too. So I pulled a snapshot of guest searching for summer months, but we do know that on average, like 30 to 40% of all guests use filters, which is a pretty decent amount, just under half, but still a really good snapshot when looking at the overall volume of who's booking on Booking.com. So I wanted to highlight here the most popular filters, which again, we really recommend highlighting any of these that the properties have to offer. So the top filter, I think I didn't mention it on the slide, but I'll tell you here. The most basic one always comes in from like cancellation policy and price. So those are usually pretty stable. Oh yeah, sorry, I'm wrong. They're number 2. So facilities are even more important than cancellation policy and price. Looking for swimming pool, if pets are allowed, parking, and Wi-Fi. Those are really what's top of mind for guests. I know. I think David and I both always I love looking for a hot tub when I travel. I think that's always a fun thing to do. I've heard that's an American thing from some of my Australian friends were teasing about the hot tub culture, but it's fun. And if you have a house, why not kind of go for it? So facilities are really important to guests. Again, we also see that swimming pool photos make a huge impact when they're added onto the website. That's something that if a swimming pool is mentioned and the photo is there to back it up, that will help with conversion too. So those things are really important to highlight. Again, parking and Wi-Fi, I think that's pretty standard, but also very important, not to discredit that. And then the second most common filter is cancellation policy and price. Those are really level in the volumes they're being looked at. And that makes sense because that's right. Budget is budget. Guests are willing to pay what they can pay. So that's possible there. We've also seen, we talked about already how important flexibility is, or just being aware of what that cancellation policy is so the guests can plan for it. And then the last one, the number 3 to round out the top 3 search filters is property type. And this is a snapshot again over the past 2 weeks of guest searching of hotel data here. Of this data here, not necessarily hotels and alternate accommodations, as we'll see here. So 33% of guests are putting on the hotel filter, and then about 30% are putting on the filter for holiday home, which is being used as the general home listing there. But then we see even more than that when you look at apartment, bed and breakfast, chalet. There's even more different types of alternative accommodation property types in the smaller percentages, but there's still quite a volume there. So really showing that it's pretty equal between hotel and alternative accommodations, which I hope that shows and speaks volumes to the number of guests who are really looking for that type of stay and using those filters accordingly.
That's awesome to see. Yeah. So the holiday home plus apartment, and you can probably add in villa and chalet. Like that's basically 50% right there. So half of the travelers going to Booking.com are specifically looking for a vacation rental / alternative accommodation. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And because those filters are Booking puts a lot of effort to making the filters clear, and again, in that for the users to look as you're on the front end to make that available and show, to highlight and make it easier to find the types of properties they're looking for, as well as types of facilities that may go into that, like kitchenette could be included in there. It speaks volumes, and I know that it's really helps narrow down and find tailor what the search results are. So yeah, it was really exciting to see this when I was looking at the results. I think we've been seeing a growth in the home segment, and this just backs it up. So it's again really positive.
I'll also chime in my personal pet peeve, and no one does this: Airbnb, Vrbo, Booking.com keyword search. I want to find a place for a basketball court for my kid, or ping pong table, or a sauna. And if it's not one of the pre-programmed facilities, amenities, you can't find that. So hopefully all the channels will eventually do that.
Yeah, that is a great idea. I'm sure there's some reason we don't, but we'll continue to pass that feedback on. That would be cool. One of my pet peeves is pets usually means dogs, and I did travel with my cat for a little while, and so I think we need a little bit more as to what types of pets are acceptable as well, and how many and the sizes. I know we can definitely flesh that one out too. So still more work to be done on types of facility and specifics that we're listing. I just have one more slide to round it out on U.S. trends, and this is kind of a callback to what we've been looking at and watching for as far as the impact of just the gas prices and how that's going to affect guests traveling from different states, if that's going to impact the number of flights they're taking. So I wanted to show what it's currently, which guests in which state are searching for fellow states, while spotlighting Tennessee, Florida, and California. So our research shows that guests are willing to drive up to 12 hours, which is not nothing. And especially in the US, you can, depending on your location, can be a lot of places within 12 hours. So this is one that comes up quite a bit when talking about Tennessee and the Smoky Mountain region. It's within an 8-hour drive for a third of the US population. So we really see an interesting mix of location coming in here. Tennessee contributes themselves about 18% to that local travel, again, just within the region, followed by Georgia, and then North Carolina, Ohio, and Kentucky round that out. And this is blends a greater mix. So we see about 8% coming from Georgia, and then like 5% coming from those next 3 states. Whereas with Florida and California, they receive a lot more from within the state themselves. So in Florida, 33% are coming from Florida, followed by Georgia, New York, which is not really driving, but it's a quick flight, and there's a lot of demand and interest, I think, from that region in Florida. We know this from across.
The snowbirds.
Yeah, snowbirds for sure. Snowbirds, weekend trips, all of the above for getting down to Florida. And then Texas and Illinois also contribute quite a bit to the Florida demand. And then lastly, California, I mean, just because of the size and the location, 64% of California travel is actually domestic. So of searching within the last 2 weeks, 64% are looking for travel within the state of California. So north, south, north, I mean, crossing all around, there's a lot to go, a lot of places to go within the state itself. And then the majority is the surrounding states as far as driving from there. So Arizona, Texas, Nevada, and then Washington State contribute the most to guests who are searching and then traveling into those regions. So definitely still, since the pandemic, there's been an uptick in just domestic travel period, of driving travel, and that trend is, as of right now, continuing to maintain. We'll be watching for if it tapers off due to the gas and the volume there, but overall, we're still seeing week-over-week growth when it comes to stayed room nights, booked room nights. Again, I think the consumers are wanting to travel, and as long as they're able to do so, even with the more expensive tank of gas, they're still doing that as for now. So again, still some positive overview as far as state-to-state travel and interest and searching here from those 3 states to kind of show us a bit of a snapshot across the country, and that's really so far it's been a pretty low impact. But again, we know that it's hard on everybody who has to travel and be a part of that. So we'll definitely continue to watch it and see what we can do there. And that's actually all I had on the US. I hope that was interesting, and then we can jump into some
Awesome.
Awesome. That's great. Thanks so much, Kat. Appreciate all that info. Very helpful. Eric, you've been monitoring questions, and please, folks who still have questions, feel free to ask them on the side. We've got a few minutes for that. So Eric, anything good coming in?
Yeah, lots of good stuff. I'd say the common theme is payments. So lots of people are curious how payments work on Booking.com. Does the host get paid out directly? Does the host use their own payment processor? What does that look like? Can you explain a little bit?
Yes, absolutely. I will try to do my best. Payments is a thorough and a bit more of a complex. It's kind of a complex topic, and it really varies based on the region. So I'll speak now to the U.S. and Canada and North America for the purposes of this call. So Booking.com, we have a combination of payments available. Traditionally, we do just pass the guest credit card or payment method that's accepted by the properties on to be charged then by their payment processor. So that is a standard and traditional way that Booking.com handles payments. If the property cannot process credit cards for any reason, then Booking.com has what we call our exclusive payment model. So if you can't take payment from guests, then we will take payment for that guest and pass on through either a virtual credit card or a bank transfer. So that will be taken by Booking.com and passed on. There is also a third version, which we call hybrid payments model, where there'll be a combination, where if you can charge the guest credit card, that would be one option. And then Booking.com will also offer payments where the guest can choose to basically like a pay now or pay later, and then Booking.com will collect that and pass on a virtual credit card. The third version, the hybrid payments, has not yet been live in the United States to home and to the vacation rental segment, but I am really happy to share that it's been beta testing in this last month or so, and we'll hopefully be rolling out in Q2. We do get that question quite a bit, and I think it varies, right? I think that sometimes the properties prefer to take payment themselves and process that and handle it. And there's also a desire for Booking to take that on with the guests and pass on the payment method. We see some benefits there ourselves. It also helps us help you by combating some of the challenges that come up from taking payment. Then Booking takes responsibility for, let's say, chargebacks or some of the less pleasant things that come up in charging guests and making sure that's able to kind of capture that revenue. So more to come on payments. That's a bit of a tease, I guess, for what's coming out with the payment model. But for now, we do for sure pass on the guest payment information to the properties to charge is the main way. And then if they're not able to charge credit cards or take payment by some of the methods that we have listed on our site, then we'll take that as exclusive to properties as well. So yeah, I hope that's clear. I know it's a bit, there's a few different options there. I think it's a lot for us to keep track of ourselves, but I would say the best place to look to learn more about that is either on our Property Help Center, or if you are already listening on Booking.com, in the finance tab, it will show what's available within your region. So I recommend checking out those locations for more information, and then for sure asking us if there's anything else further there, either through Booking or through Hostfully, and we can get you that more specific answer for your location.
Sounds great. And if anyone has questions on how Hostfully and Booking.com work together to collect payments, please do feel free to chat us. The normal way it works is you'll connect a payment processor of your choice, and we have 3 to choose from. And then that payment will be processed by that processor, and you can assign a bank account to that processor so it can all funnel into a single account.
I'm going to downsize the deck. We'll make Kat will make you the feature. On one follow-up question to that too, and might be different based on those options you talked about. Do you know what Booking.com does with regards to the hotel TOT taxes? Are they collecting that and remitting it in any of the situations you talked about, or is it always the property manager, their job to collect that?
We're definitely displaying that to guests. So as long as the taxes are set up and reflecting that on the Booking.com extranet or on the Booking.com front end, because they could be, however they're being sent or listed with us. If Booking.com takes payment, we will also take payment for the taxes and then pass that full amount on to you or to the property. If the hotel is collecting payment, sorry, I'm saying hotel, but if the PM is taking payment there, the guest would also be paying that at that time too. So those taxes are always included in the total price displayed to the guest, as long as just the caveat is making sure they're set up correctly. And so as long as they're displayed correctly, then that's accounted for. And we don't want any surprises for the guest or for you or any differences in that amount. So as long as that's displayed, it's collected either by the guest or by us.
And that's my general experience. In most cases, the property manager, they are collecting the payment. So the benefit is as opposed to other channels that manage the payment, here the property manager has full control of that, and it's processed through their Stripe account or vacation rent payment account, and they have that money and they have control on whether how they want to handle that refund, and then also they have therefore collected the tax as well, and it's their job to remit that tax to the city or whatever local government they need to.
Yeah. I mean, that's great. That's ideal for us. We know that the less times you have to charge the guest, the better, and then it's easier for the PMs to remit as well.
Great. Eric, other questions?
Yeah, we've got another one here. Kat, can you tell us what Booking.com does to vet guests and prevent fraud?
Yeah. So I'll tell you what I know. I know that I know we have a pretty large fraud team, and that they have there's definitely a lot of AI and algorithms in place to identify that fraud based on guest behavior. So looking for, again, I don't know specifics, but I know that it can be some form of the pattern of how the guests are making the booking. I think they have an intent to stay score based on the guest's past behavior, really getting down even to the IP, and just we are also working on scaling this on validating the guest credit card as soon as they put it in, or that payment model. So there are a lot of methods in place, and again, any guest who has questionable behavior will be limited in their ability to book. So there's definitely a lot of efforts being made. I'm sure within a lot more detail that I'm aware of, but I do know that our teams are actively working on this topic, and that goes both ways, right? We're making sure that we have quality and very real partners out there with real properties that the guests are finding, and then very real guests that have intent to stay with the hotels as well. And then if any fraudsters are found, that's being addressed as quickly as possible.
On that note, too, I'm proud to say that there is a case study that Booking.com put out with Hostfully on our collaboration on preventing fraud. So maybe we'll try to follow up in the show notes after this, and emails after this. But for those who have questions, there's a cool case study on how Booking.com at least worked with property management softwares and us specifically to prevent fraud.
Yeah, exactly. And so you've seen firsthand how our team is pretty assertive and watching out for fraud again on all sides.
Yes.
And that's something that in order to really maintain the integrity of our site and pass it on reservations, it's really very, very important to us. So we're really looking to kind of minimize fraud as much as possible. And it's a complicated topic, but yeah, that was a great case study, and we're proud to work together to really keep our strength there.
All right, that's all I've got. David, anything?
I think we covered them all. Payments, fraud, business travel, hotel taxes. Yeah, so, and that's perfect timing. We're coming up on the hour. So Kathryn, thanks so much for joining and sharing all your wisdom. It's a personal thank you to you for helping us and helping our joint customers over the years. We've done, leaps and bounds together over the years of getting our customers on Booking.com and helping them get bookings. And in large part, that's to you and your hand holding us through the technical integration, through how we should, talk about Booking.com to our customers. So we're very grateful for you. We have been for the past few years, and so great we could have you on to share your wisdom with all the listeners. Hopefully you'll come back again and we'll do this again sometime.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I feel your sentiment. I think it's really been great to work with Hostfully and see the growth and just the great technology you touted at the beginning really speaks volumes to how you've been performing with us and how partners are, seeing that as well. So thanks for having me. I definitely would love to come back, or we'll loop in some other of my colleagues here to speak and share their specific expertise. It's great to hear from. I think we have a large company we can tap into and keep doing more in the future.
Wonderful. Thanks so much. Thanks everyone for listening in. And until our next one. Cheers.
Thank you.
Thanks.